Rich fool or rich wise, temporary versus permanent, worldly versus eternity. A man must always be ready for death comes when and where God wills it. Welcome to the homily 18th Sunday of the Ordinary Time. Listen carefully to the voice of the Lord. Set your heart on what will last forever. We only fool ourselves if we believe that our possessions will bring us happiness and life. Instead, grow rich in the sight of the Lord. The Gospel passage comes from Luke chapter 12, verses 13 to 21. True treasure is the love of God. The Gospel reminds us of the absurdity of basing our own happiness on having. The rich say to themselves, "My soul, you have my possession at your disposal. Rest, eat, drink, and be merry." But God says to them, "Fools, this very night your life will be required of you. And all the things you have accumulated, whose will they be?" The true treasure is the love of God shared with our brothers and sisters. That love which comes from God enables us to share it with one another and to help each other. Those who experience it do not fear death, and their hearts are at peace. The first reading from Ecclesiasticus. The author speaks about vanity of vanities. We must all leave our property for what comes to a man from all the profit, from all the toil and anxiety of the heart with which he has labored under the sun, will be gone when he dies. The second reading from Colossians, Paul says to the brothers and sisters, if we were raised with Christ, we are called to seek what is above. That's all matters. We need to put to death the parts that are earthly, impurity, passions, evil desires, greed, and idolatry. We all die one day. When John Rockefeller died at the age of 98 at the beginning of the 20th century, he was the wealthiest man in the world. A reporter was assembling his obituary asked his chief, "Just how much did your boss leave behind?" The aide answered, "All of it." The same is true of us. We will leave behind whatever we do not invest above. And how sad would it be at the time of our death if our bank accounts and coffers here on earth were bulging full and our storehouse in heaven was empty and bare. The excess of resources we have are to be shared with others and not to be hoarded or kept for oneself. The parable of the rich fool reminds us that our life on earth is short-lived. God could call us any time. Let's work towards our heavenly storage and not on earthly storage. On his deathbed, Alexander summoned his generals and told them his three ultimate wishes. First, the best doctor should carry his coffin. The second, the wealthiest accumulated money, gold, precious stones should be scattered along the procession to the cemetery. And the third, his hand should be let loose, hanging outside the coffin for all to see. One of his generals was surprised by these unusual requests, asked Alexander to explain. Here is what Alexander the Great had to say. "I want the best doctors to carry my coffin to demonstrate that in the face of death, even the best doctors in the world have no power to heal. Second, I want the road to be covered with my treasures so that everybody sees the material wealth acquired on earth stays on earth. Third, I want my hands to swing in the wind so that people understand that we come to this world empty-handed. We leave this world empty-handed after the most precious treasures of all is exhausted, and that is time. Time is our most precious treasure because it is limited. We can produce more wealth, but we cannot produce more time. When we give someone our time, we actually give a portion of our life that we will never take back. So what choices we make in our lives? Are we rich fool or rich wise? On the way, the Alexander the Great fell ill and took him to his deathbed. With death staring him in his face, Alexander realized how his conquest, his great army, his sharp sword, and his wealth were of no use. The choice is ours. In our lives, are we to give or are we to hold? Are we to move or are we to get stuck? Are we to release or are we to hold? Are we to choose or are we to be stubborn? Or we want to give or just we want to keep it for ourselves? Day in and day out, we make choices in our life. Is our choice based on earth or on heavenly destination? Happiest people are the thankful people. Attitude of gratitude. Everything comes from God. We are on a journey in our lives towards the heavenly destiny. Are we willing to make the choice of happiness that leads towards being a thankful people? We live in a 24/7 work culture. It's all about achievement, making that extra money, comfort the work can bring. At times, that work can take away family life, prayer life, can be self-centered. The parable of the rich fool calls us to pause for a moment and reflect. Are we self-centered or God-centered? Our destination is on earth, but the final destination is heaven. Let there be balance between work, life, prayer, so that time and again we are able to prioritize what is important, pivotal, essential in our Christian life, in journey towards our destiny of heaven. Pause for a moment and reflect. Am I self-centered or am I God-centered? What are the blocks? What are the hurdles? What are the difficulties I face in my life to make that leap from self-centered to God-centered? My own life, my own dreams, or do I move towards others in charity, love, in sharing our own resources with others? The treasures of life. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. And then his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Reasons to lay up treasures in heaven. 3 of our treasures is where our heart will be. Heart, affections, hopes, dreams. Heart on earth is based on material things. Heart in heaven focuses on the spiritual well-being, the spiritual things of heaven. Colossians chapter 3 verse 1 to 2. If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. To set your mind on things above, not on things on earth. A quote from Benjamin Franklin: wise men do not need advice. Fools won't take it. Where are my treasures? The rich people who belong to 100 billion club, 10 richest people on the planet, when you look at their portfolios, most of them belong to technology. Few belong to consumer, and some are diversified. They start somewhere around $200 billion to $100 billion. These rich people, their lifestyle, their progress, everything comes from the current technological trend. There's so much of disparity in the humanity. The wealth of the 10 richest men has doubled, while the incomes of 99% of humanity are worse off because of COVID-19. Since 1995, top 1% have captured nearly 20 times more of global wealth than the bottom 50% of humanity. Top 1% and bottom 50%. When it comes to environment and ecology, 20 of the richest billionaires are estimated on average to be emitting as much as 8,000 times more carbon than the billion poorest people. Inequality causes direct harm to us all. Inequality isn't by chance, but by choice. An estimated 5.6 million people die every year for lack of access to health care in poor countries. At a minimum, 67,000 people, women, die each year due to female genital mutilation or murder at the hands of a former or current partner. Hunger kills over 2.1 million people each year at a minimum. By 2030, the climate crisis could kill 231,000 people each year in poor countries. An extreme boom in billionaire wealth is not a sign of a healthy economy. The people in poverty, women, girls, and racialized groups are often disproportionately killed or harmed more than those who are rich and privileged. We live in a world of predictive analytics and futurity. When you look at the stock market, one day it's a bull market, another day is a bear market. In the bull market, there's optimism, prices are going up, the investors are happy. When there's a bear market, it's a pessimism, prices are going down, there's a fear in the market. But it's always interesting how the analysts predict the future, but nobody can guarantee. The way the gas prices have gone up and fluctuating, and way the food market in the world, the short supply of wheat, food grains that are affected by the war in Ukraine, and logistics. There's a lot of uncertainty, futurity we see and we face in the world. But still, businesses heavily depend on the predictive analytics and the future assessments. Future is uncertain and we make the choices. God calls the rich man today's parable a fool. But why he is foolish? He had no intent of sharing what he owns with those who are in need. This man is foolish in regard to his future. We all have big plans. We live on strategies and with certainty. Wise people understand that you never know what tomorrow may bring. Our health, our families, our jobs can change dramatically. We do, of course, have to keep an eye on the future, eating healthy, investing in our retirement plans. But the only life we really have is the life we have today. That's why wise people refuse to postpone living. The future is largely out of our control. That's why wise people live today. Eat, drink, and be merry. The rich man was centered on his own success, strategy, and plans. He was unable to see his death coming. The happiest people are the most thankful people, probably who not only use their talents to do good for others, but people who understand that the talents they possess are gifts from a God who loves them. People who not only love their spouse, their children, and their friends, but who understand that their relationships flow from the hand of God who blesses them. Thankfulness deepens life. It enriches life because it places all that we have in the context of God's love. A love that will not abandon us no matter what comes. A call for attitude of gratitude. We're all called to live wisely, not in the future, but today. Let's celebrate today our health, our friends, our abilities. Let's deepen the celebration by realizing that all these good gifts come from God's love. The gospel calls us to live today with a thankfulness and to make the right choices in our lives. This is the secret of happiness. This is the way to live. To live any other way would be the choice of a fool. Are we rich fool or rich wise? Do we make the right choice in discernment with God's voice in our lives? Let's entrust this intention, the intention of receiving God's love and sharing it with our brothers and sisters, to the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary help us not to be fascinated by the securities that pass by, but to be credible witnesses every day to eternal values of the gospel. Let us work for the treasures in heaven. Rich fool or rich wise? Do we live our life based on temporary or permanent things of life? Worldly versus eternity. May we make the right choices towards the destiny of eternity. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is dying that we are born to eternal life. But God said to him, "You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong? Thus will it be for all who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God." Luke 12:20-21. God bless.